Good evening, everyone. Today we're talking about STEM the Media Project, and today I'm very fortunate to have one of the victims has surviving from the STEM 11, and she's gonna share the love story with us. And about September 11, gonna tie into our Going All Together community prevention for dementia project. So I'm gonna just translate very briefly about what this is about.9/11是美国受到恐怖分子袭击的那一天。那我们今天有一个受害者，那跟我们分享他的故事。然后这跟我们将来的一起活到老的社区活动地方失智症联合在一起。谢谢大家收听我们欢迎Jia Lee，actually 他也是从台湾来的，据说from台湾。Hi, how are you?
Hi, very good. Thank you, Stephanie. Yes, 我的中文不太好，那是为什么我
Can you just briefly use Chinese say about you, then you can start with English. Just use Chinese say who you are and kind of the language you know.
我的名字是李家地，然后我生在台湾，我才1岁来美国的，所以我的中文讲的不太好，我的爷爷就从小跟我们讲中文，他是从山东来的，所以我可能有一点山东腔那个腔。
像外就是我们讲的本省人跟外省人，我以为是本省人，所以你是外省。Yeah, something like that. Okay, so so we not really know about you. So tell us who you are and what you do before that time is September 11 for you.
So, well, I worked at the Port Authority for a very long time. I graduated out of Cooper Union with my engineering degree in civil engineering, bachelor's, and I started at Port Authority in 1993 as basically a engineering trainee, they call it. So it's really like a leadership fellow, someone that comes in and they rotate you for about a year throughout the whole organization. And as you know, the Port Authority owns pretty much all of the transportation links between New York and New Jersey. And at the time, we also own the World Trade Center site. So we anything that has to do with airports, ports, bridges and tunnels. We even had some very interesting assets like, the Port Authority bus terminal, as well as, we had a hand in some of the most cutting edge stuff like Essex County Resource Recovery Plant, which used pyrolysis to burn trash for fuel, right? For energy. So we were, I was very proud to be a part of such an organization. And the job market was pretty tight in 93.
Yeah.
So I was very lucky to get a job.
Exactly.
And very happy to, my parents were very proud of me as an engineer. And I was excited to work there because, I had a choice to become a doctor or to become an engineer. I get into Hunter Medical Program, and I was deciding whether to be an engineer. And one day, I saw the front page of the Daily News, and it had an engineer sticking his head through a giant rusted hole in the middle of the Williamsburg Bridge. Literally, it was falling apart. And I said at that time, I'm going to save New York. I'm going to become an engineer. I'm going to make the infrastructure in this region much better, because I used to take the J train and it would rattle over the bridge. I was afraid one day I'm going to fall into the East River. So that was my goal. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go for Cooper Union. And so I didn't know back then that there were very few girls. My mom, who she went to 是不是成功大学？
大学哇，那是台南，那是 Southern of Taiwan。
成功还是 name some Taiwanese colleges？成功我应该知道，但是我忘。但是他告诉我 if you're going to become an engineer, you just better be aware it's a man's world. A lot of men.
Exactly. Engineers a man's world.
Right. So I said in my 20s, very confident, said, I don't care. I'm going in there and I'm going to change the world. So that's how I started. And I started designing runways at the airports. And then I said, you know what? I love the environment too. So I said at night, I went to Cooper Union to get my master's degree in environmental engineering. And so that's how I got started, and really loved my career ever since. You know, Port Authority was great. It helped me to develop the sense of what I really wanted to do, because honestly, you learn a lot in school, but really you get the training in at work, and you also get the exposure to real world problems. And you know, you have to think about, what kind of difference do I want to make in the world? What is it that I want to change? Who do I want to affect? Obviously my family, my friends all lived in the region, and I was thinking of what is the greatest impact that I could make. So that's been kind of my driving force throughout my career. I volunteered also for mentorship programs for inner city high school students, because I knew how it was to go through a public school system in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
And I was kind of upset that I didn't know what I really wanted to be. Honestly, even though medicine was, in my future too, I love biology. I went to Stuyvesant High School. Biology was one of my best subjects. I loved it. And, I always loved animals, the environment. My mom and dad, especially, they were naturalists. They know so many beautiful poems. They often talked about, walked, through nature with me. And that was some of my best memories. So being an engineer was that conflict, because as a civil engineer, you're basically saving the world, you're covering it, you're destroying nature to develop. And I felt like that was a conflict in my world. I felt like I had to do something where there was a balance between how much does humans have impact on the world, how do we change it, but how do we offset some of those impacts? So I got my master's degree in environmental engineering, and ironically, I looked at the benzene, toluene, ethyl benzene, xylene concentrations in jet fuel, right? That basically run off from the airports into Jamaica Bay. JFK was my focus. And I had written a huge thesis on how much I had to go out there every time it rained to catch rainwater, and at the 20 outfalls. And I had a great time because, I got a chance to see the Concorde take off, and I had to lay down on the pavement because it was so loud and almost, so I had a lot of fun doing that. And I learned a lot. Like, yes, we are contributing to pollution, lots of it. And, some of these are cancer causing, right? They're carcinogens. So to know what we're, how are we affecting our environment? How can we stop that? And how can we as individuals, take on a cause, especially when it means our environment, our health. And that all contributes to, our physical, mental state, happiness, all that. So from an engineering perspective, I said I can re-engineer the world. And that was my goal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's kind of, more systematic, people are thinking approach, but maybe thinking about, in your point of view, is how the engineer can contribute to the world differently. Like see Germany, I see a lot of roadway Germany built. It's like, wow, the bridge. Have you familiar with those kind of infrastructure Germany has done? Germany. Yeah, Germany.
Well, I do know that Europe has a lot more focus on like green roofs. They're pretty like forward thinking in the environment and about like non-GMO food products, right? They're very aware of the impacts that the food chain,
right.
and your health related to how you live within the environment that's around you, like the spaces that you create. I've blurred my background, but in the background, you'll see a lot of plants. I'm a big plant person. That's been driven, from, my father and his father, and, even my mother's side, her father was actually a biologist in China who studied, yeah, who was one of the premier biologists who started a college in Xi'an, not Xi'an, I got it. Not Xi'an. Sorry. What is that? Urumqi, in near Pakistan. He was kind of sent there by the communist government because he was an intellect, right? But he, instead of looking like it was a negative thing, he turned into a positive. He started, a university there, and it studied like the insects that destroy crops and things like that. So he focused.
Okay, that's interesting. Yeah.
So biology is in my blood, and also the environment is in my blood. This weekend, my sister and I, we went to her home that she's selling in Philadelphia. We picked the jujube. We basically got cuttings, and also we dug up small jujube trees as well as meihua that my father planted.
Wow, that's a really difficult kind of flower to plant.
Huh?
Mayflower is very hard to plant. Mayflower it's very difficult to plant that.
Yeah, so they had actually, the mother tree dropped a lot of seeds, so there were little babies growing next to her. We dug them up. Hopefully they'll grow. But my whole point is, as I'm so happy that as a young person, I was exposed to the environment in a way that showed me that you are not separate. You as a human being are not segregated from the rest of the world. You're no better.
Yeah.
You come from the world. You come from the earth, and the earth makes you who you are, for good or for bad. And you need to protect it, because by protecting it, you protect yourself, you protect your family, and you flourish too. I get such joy out of seeing flowers, trees, animals. When they're flourishing, I feel like I'm flourishing.
That's interesting. So I think we now know about what you do, and we just want to jump to. You mentioned about. I'm assuming your childhood dream will be become a doctor, right?
No, not really. Not really. My parents, because I'm the youngest, they really didn't put pressure on me for anything. A lot of the guidance came from my older sister. She's a geneticist now, or into genetics. And she was very enlightening. I mean, she was all around sports champion, all around, just academics.
Right.
So growing up, we grew up unorthodox. We weren't like most Asian kids where, the parents forced them to go to learn Chinese or anything like that. We weren't pushed into after school programs. We were just told, look, you have to do your best, your absolute best. Your parents work hard. We barely get to see you. When we do, we want to see that you're doing well. And the expectation was always there. But as the youngest one, I wasn't, really pressured into doing anything. But my brother and sister were high achieving individuals. So, it's like kind of like a natural, just, yeah. I found that organic learning is so much better than the forced one, because it's me. It comes from me, the want, the yearning to learn, as opposed to an outside force beating you into learning. I always feel like that's the most effective way to learn.
Yeah, that's really great. I know we're gonna talk about September 11. I know that's really a very serious topic. So I want to ask you, how old are you September 11? 你几岁?
How am I what?
How old are you in September 11? That day, 2001, that day. How
old was I?
Yeah.
Good question. That's 2001. So what do I? 1972.
Oh, 30, right?
Yeah, about 30 area. And,
Maybe
you know, I was in the prime of my career, so I was very traumatized, to say the least. Yep. Mhm. Why do you make me give my age to the audience, man?
You know
Don't you know you're not supposed to ask a girl her age?
I know that that's why I told you you don't need to give me an exact year. You just mean like 20, 30, you know, like 10 years around.
That's all right. That's okay.
I know.
It doesn't matter.
So
I'm not ashamed.
before we start more, we're gonna start something here, but we're gonna talk about your September 11 experience when we come back, and we're gonna have the viewer to maybe start to know about how your background is and how you are, and then we're gonna wrap it up for today, and then we're gonna talk about spending for our second section. So when you'll be available, we will talk about it. So I'll see you at my party.
Okay, yes, happy birthday. I may, but I'm traveling, so I may not be able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah.
you have a good day.
You too. Thank you,
Bye.
Stephanie. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful day.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.